Never doubt the zone. Make you eat the crow. Laughing in your face. Laughing to the base. She can keep the push.
What's up, guys? My name is Ish San Juan, and this is the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. New York gets the final for the FIFA World Cup in 2026. They beat out Dallas. It's going to be a great World Cup. I've planned out 3 games that I want to go to. If you're a Mexican American, this might work for you too. Obviously, it's going to be super hard to get tickets, but hear me out. We'll touch about, quarterfinals, knockout rounds, how many games the U.S. is getting, how many games Mexico and Canada are getting. Very exciting stuff. We are a little bit over 2 years away from the World Cup, June 11, 2026. We will be there, hopefully, but it's going to be exciting. We're getting closer to that date. The World Cup in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico is getting closer and closer. Also, Liverpool lose to Arsenal 3-1. What does that mean for Liverpool? We'll also touch on Klopp announcing that he will leave the club at the end of this year. We'll touch on what does that mean for Liverpool, the Premier League, all that good stuff. Real Madrid tie the Madrid Derby to Atletico 1-1. Heartbreaking fashion. We get scored on in stoppage time. So we'll touch on that. What does that mean for Real Madrid's La Liga's aspirations? And then we'll touch briefly, because it's been a while already. I've been gone. We'll touch on the Ravens choking Lamar, letting us down against the Chiefs. The Lions choking against the 49ers. And to conclude, we will also talk about Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. What does this mean for the AFC, the NFL, the AFC West in particular, the Chargers? We'll touch on all of that on this episode of the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. Let's get started. So, although this is Super Bowl week, it is the greatest sports week in a lot of people's minds. The actual greatest sports week is probably the World Cup final. The lead up to the World Cup final, the month of football. That is the greatest sports spectacle on the world. So before we get to the Super Bowl talk, the NFL talk, we got to talk about the Super Bowl. Before we get to the Super Bowl talk, we got to talk about the World Cup news that dropped this past weekend. And New York got announced as the site for the World Cup final. It was said to be between Dallas, Inglewood, LA, SoFi Stadium, and New York. SoFi Stadium and the owner, Kroenke, I believe, had their whole, I'm not going to change my field for you dilemma. So they kind of fell out. It kind of came down to Dallas versus Meadowlands versus New York. In the end, New York gets it. Am I happy about this? I mean, I don't know. I have been to New York. Thankfully, I was able to go last year. I was able to go in January for the winter, and then I was able to go in August for the U.S. Open. So I do know, it's going to be a little earlier than August. It's going to be in July, the final. So it's not going to be the same weather as when I went in August for the U.S. Open, but it'll be similar. And it could get a little ugly. It could get a little humid. It could get a little nasty in there in the New York summers. So would I have preferred to been in Dallas, although it would have been hot too, in an indoor stadium, weather controlled, indoors, roof over your head? Probably. But I mean, I understand why New York gets it. It's like New York, the Big Apple. It's like the biggest city in the world. A lot of people, that's what they think of in the U.S. They think of New York and Hollywood, LA. I think it's the 2 things that most people think of when they think of the U.S. I don't think a lot of people think about Dallas. The only thing that Dallas had going for it, or Arlington, Texas, was that it's Jerry's World. It's a huge stadium. Jerry Jones had committed to, renovate his stadium. He was going to do a lot of stuff for the World Cup. He was really bidding hard for that final. In the end, New York gets it. I do think they have a better public transit system. It'll hopefully improve even more by the time the World Cup gets here. Hopefully, they clean it up a little bit. They modernize it a little bit. It's better for when the World Cup comes around. But overall, I'm not too upset about the World Cup being in New York. I do think Dallas maybe could have been a little bit better, but New York is fine. I don't have any problem with that. I did wish it was gonna be in LA, so it could be just down the 5 for me. I currently live in the Bay Area, so I did hope at the beginning that it would be LA, but with all the situations that happened, that fell through pretty quick. But at the very least, Dallas gets a semifinal. Dallas gets the most game out of any stadium in the World Cup. They get 9, I believe. And then there's a couple with 8. Then there's a couple with 7. I think Toronto gets 7. Vancouver gets 6. I want to say Azteca gets 6 as well. Levi Stadium, just down the street, right here in Santa Clara, gets 6. Monterrey gets like 5, I want to say. Akron gets 4 or 5. It's going to be spread out pretty good. Most of the games are going to be in the U.S. Some key dates: June 11th, inaugural game is going to be in the Estadio Azteca. Mexico will be opening the World Cup with their first group stage game. Another one to look out for is July 4th, round of 16 in Philadelphia. That has a lot of people's minds in it. If the U.S. is able to get through the group stages, get through the round of 32, because this will be expanded World Cup. There'll be way more teams in there. I think it's a 48-team field. There will be a round of 32. So if they're able to get to the round of 16, then we could potentially see the U.S. playing on July 4th in Philadelphia. Who wrote that script? That's a beautiful script. We might have to be there. Also, the U.S., the group stage games. Sorry, East Coast. You're getting the final. You're getting the final in New York. You're getting Dallas, which is kind of in the middle. You're getting the third place match, which is in Miami. The other semifinal match is in Atlanta. So you're getting a lot of the later knockout stages. But all 3 of the U.S. group stages games will be on the West Coast. SoFi, Seattle, SoFi. So basically Inglewood, Seattle, Inglewood. If you don't know where Inglewood is, it's pretty much LA. LA, Seattle, LA. Now I know that is upsetting a lot of people because the East Coasters wants to see the U.S. I see the comments, way to alienate the East Coast. But like I said, Philadelphia, round of 16th, July 4th. That's a big game where potentially the U.S. could be in. That's a big spot. Round of 32, they could potentially be in Kansas City or somewhere else. There's a lot of opportunities for you to catch the U.S. if you're on the East Coast. With the U.S. having a very young team, a lot of nice prospects, a lot of players entering their prime, their peak prime, their physical prime. I'm talking like Reina. I'm talking Pulisic will be like 27 years old at that time, I believe. Des will be like around 26. Reina will probably be like, 25, 24, I believe. So we have a lot of players entering their physical prime. They should definitely get out of the group stage, playing at home with the larger field, meaning that the round of 32 should be a weaker draw compared to the round of 16 earlier in previous World Cups. So to get to the round of 16, like that could potentially happen. So you could potentially have the U.S. play at least 2 East Coast games if they get to the round of 32 and if they win and they get to the round of 16th. So calm down, let us West Coasters have something. All the end of the knockout rounds is going to be in the East Coast. So just be cool. As far as Mexico will play in the Estadio Azteca, then they'll play in the Chivas Stadium, Akron, and then they'll play in the Estadio Azteca again. So if you want to follow Mexico, those are the 3 games. Those are the 3 sites of their games. And then potentially, I think I saw that the Mexican Federation is lobbying to get the round of 32 and the round of 16 at the Estadio Azteca as well, if they're able to go through. So that would be very interesting. And it'll be great for my fellow native Mexicans. Sometimes the Mexican Federation doesn't treat you guys right. Mexico does play their World Cup qualification games in the Estadio Azteca, but all these Gold Cup tournaments are in the U.S. These new Copa America tournaments that Mexico gets invited, they're never in Mexico. They're in the U.S. or in South America. So it's a good opportunity. It's good to see the Mexican Federation, maybe forced or maybe by public pressure. I don't know. But whatever it is, all of their matches potentially are going to be played in Mexico unless they make like the quarterfinals or the semis or maybe even the final. Who knows? But it does seem that if they get at least to the round of 16, all those games should be in Mexico with the home crowd. Although even if they play in the U.S., it should be a home crowd too. But playing in Mexico would probably feel different. I want to be there. I hope I'm there. And as a Mexican American, I do want to go to 1 Mexico game, 1 U.S. game, and then miscellaneous. My goal is to go to 3 games, 3 World Cup games by 2026. Start saving money. Hopefully, no one ever knows what could happen. Something, you could have a tragedy, or you could have an emergency, or you got to fix your car or whatever. But hopefully I'm able to save enough money to go to at least 3 games at the bare minimum. Like if nothing goes right, like at least go to 1 game at SoFi, no matter who it is. Like unfortunately it won't be Mexico or the US, but any game in the World Cup would just be an amazing experience. So si Dios quiere, obviously we would want to be there at the World Cup. The 3 games I've thought about, since we know where Mexico and the US are going to play their group stages games. We don't know anybody else, but those are the 2 teams that I'm interested in seeing. The 3-game schedule that would probably be the easiest to hit up as someone that lives in the West Coast in the Bay Area and wants to see Mexico play. I was thinking game 1, go to the Estadio Azteca. It'll be crazy hard to get tickets, but go to the opening match of the World Cup. That'll be amazing. Estadio Azteca, Mexico inaugural. Get to see the whole ceremony and like damn near festival that is the inaugural game, and then come back to the US, recover for a little bit between the matches, maybe kick it in Mexico for a little bit, experience the World Cup in Mexico, and then go to LA to catch the US 3rd group game, and then come back to San Francisco or the Bay Area where I'm living. Who knows if I'll be living here at that time? I probably will, but who knows? But then go to SoFi right here, where close to home or close to where I'm living right now, and that would be pretty. I want to say not hard on the body, not too many flights, not too crazy of travel. Go to Mexico City, have some fun there, come back, maybe go back to San Diego where I'm from, chill there for a little bit. Go to LA, catch the US game, the 3rd group stage game, and then catch a round of 32 match at SoFi, and then just call it. Watch the rest of the World Cup at home and just enjoy it. That seems like a good plan. Another scenario that I thought of, these are all hypotheticals. Like, who knows if I'll even get the privilege to go or if I'll even have the money saved up at that point. But it's all just fun to speculate. I want to say everyone that is either Mexican or American or Canadian who knows where their teams are going to play right now is kind of doing the same thing. We're like, man, if I had the money, or if I had, if I was able to do this, if I max out the credit card, which you shouldn't do. But if I did, like, which games would I go to? So that was my first scenario. Inaugural game Azteca, 3rd US group game in SoFi, and then round of 32, whoever it is at SoFi, just down the freeway, just down the 101. That would be pretty cool. And then my second scenario would be, because I do want to check out that Monterrey Stadium, which looks crazy, and it'll be sick as fuck to be there for the World Cup, which would be, what was the setup that I thought of? It was Mexico. What was the setup? First game, I think it was first game US at SoFi, which would be June 12th. First US game, first group stage game by the US at SoFi. Go to that June 12th. Then go to Mexico for their 3rd group stage game at the Azteca. And then go to Monterrey for the round of 32. Whichever game lands there, we'll go to that game. That's another one. You got to hit SoFi, which I love SoFi. It's a great stadium, one of the most modern stadiums in the US. Then you get to check out the Azteca. And then you get to end with, BBVA. I think it's called BBVA Stadium in Monterrey. That would be amazing. That'd be a great 3 games to go to the World Cup. So that's what I have my eyes on. The other games that, could potentially creep up into my attention would be, and then obviously, am I going to take 2 weeks off at work to get all this done? A month off? Like, we got to see where I'm at with my job too at that point, how many days off I could get. It might have to be where you just schedule them in the weekend and you get like long weekends for these games that you want to go to. So we might have to fix all of this to just go to the games that fall on the weekends. A lot could switch, a lot could change. So we'll see how it goes. But those are the 3 games I'm trying to hit up right now, or the 3 sets of games that I want to go. Inaugural for Mexico, 3rd group game for US at SoFi, and then get the round of 32 at Levi's, or first group stage for the US at SoFi, 3rd group stage for Mexico at Azteca, and then round of 32 at in Monterrey for the BBVA Stadium. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And overall, the U.S. is getting 78 games. Mexico's getting 13. Canada's getting 13. So very, very USA heavy. Mexico and Canada, they should get all their group stages games in their respective countries. And it does look like they'll get like their first or second knockout game in their country too. So that'll be exciting. Very exciting stuff. Like I said, I know it's Super Bowl week and everybody wants to talk Super Bowl, but World Cup news just dropped. So we got to talk about that first. And, we got it out the way. Very excited for the World Cup. We're still 2 years away. But, start saving your coins. Start saving your chickens. Take care of your chickens. Start saving your coin. Because 2 years will go like that. It'll be 2020 and 2025 in just a year and 6 months. And I believe that's when the tickets will drop. So, keep saving a little bit of money for the World Cup. It'll get here quicker than you think. Liverpool lose to Arsenal 3-1. Their top footing is kind of getting a little loose. City are just 2 points behind with the game in hand. If they win that game, they take first spot in the Premier League. Sloppy game by Liverpool. Didn't play their best. Credit to Arsenal for making them uncomfortable, for running, for pressuring, for putting, pressure on the keeper, pressure on the defense the whole game, proposing the game, going forward, sending players forward, all that good stuff. Arsenal, solid game. I don't want to say Arsenal played a great game. It was a very Arsenal win this year. Didn't play amazing. Had some key moments in the game that they capitalized on. Recovered, tracked back, a lot of hustle. I think Arsenal was playing better last year, but, right now they're pretty close to the top of the table. We'll see if they're able to push Liverpool and City till the end. But, very, very solid win for Arsenal. They got a lot of criticism at the end for celebrating, for taking pictures. Odegaard was taking pictures of the cameraman. I think Jorginho was doing some other stuff that got some criticisms from the pundits. I think it's all good and fun. You beat Liverpool 3-1. It's good stuff. Like last few years, Arsenal have been getting points from Liverpool. They've actually been competitive. They've been able to beat them, draw at Anfield, get some points. So they've been doing better against Liverpool. I think it's okay to celebrate. It's fine. For Liverpool, a little disappointing. Now you have City in your rear view mirror catching up to you. Foden scored a hat trick on Monday. City looks like, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to make that push, that mid-season push where, they catch up to the leader and then they push away and then they win another league. It looks like that's what's going to happen again. But overall for Liverpool, sloppy game. Nothing to worry about. Klopp looked very, very calm at the end of the game, the press conference. He didn't look worried. Obviously, when you have two of your best players on the field, in Van Dijk and Alisson making mistakes, it's not a common occurrence. So Liverpool could have definitely, played better. They had some chances that they could have put away. It is what it is. Potentially, they could lose that first place to City now if they win out. But overall, January as a whole has to be a success for Liverpool. They didn't have their best player Salah for a large period of it because of AFCON. He should be back this next game, and potentially they're just going to be 1 point behind City. With a lot of games left, a lot of football left. They played solid enough without Salah that if you get Salah back, you would think that they'll be in there to the end. But I have predicted, in December, at the end of November, I was predicting that when De Bruyne gets back, it was bad for the league. It was bad for the league. You need to build a cushion. You need to build a stronger cushion for when De Bruyne comes back, because when he comes back, it's scary. He's a top player. He's one of the best players in the world. It's not like you're just adding, Jorginho or something. You're adding Kevin De Bruyne to a competitive team that's only a few points behind the leader. And the two teams ahead have had their hiccups, Liverpool and Arsenal, and they're duking it out. They're dropping points to each other. I still believe City's going to win the league, but like I said, if I'm a Liverpool fan who thinks that this is the year that Liverpool is going to win the league again, January has to be looked at as a success from the standpoint that they didn't drop too many points without Salah. But, keep an eye out for City because they're right there. Rearview mirror, they're right there. Now let's talk about Klopp. He announced that he's going to leave. It's sad. It's sad for a Premier League fan. It's sad for a fan of the sport, fan of footy, fan of football. Obviously, it's super sad for Liverpool fans. I know guest of the show, Matt, has has expressed his very, very deep sadness that he feels with Klopp leaving. My other homie, Rudy, he's super sad too. Other Liverpool fans that I know, super down. It's a sad moment. They're mourning. They're mourning that he's leaving. But, you know, it was a good period. It's a good time. We'll see what Guardiola does, if he continues to stay with City, if now that he loses his number one rival, he wants to go to a different challenge, maybe go back to Barca. Who knows? We'll see how he feels. Maybe go coach the national team. I feel like, in a sense, obviously Liverpool fans and Liverpool is going to feel a little empty, but the Premier League as a whole is going to feel empty too. It's going to feel like maybe it's time to turn the page on the whole Premier League. Maybe Pep starts feeling that way too. Maybe he starts feeling like, okay, I conquered this era. The team, the coach that challenged me the hardest are now turning the table. Is it time for me to go find a new rival? So it's kind of like Pokemon in the sense that once a region is completed, he always goes to the next region and, you know, tries out a new adventure. He gets a new rival and, you know, does the same thing over and over again and, you know, just basically enjoys a new region. Like Pep has done it in La Liga. He's done it in the Bundesliga. He's done it in the Premier League. Like, is it time to go to the national team level? Maybe he wants to try himself in Italy, go back to Barcelona, rebuild that project. Who knows? But back to Klopp. You know, he did good in Germany. He won with Dortmund. He won with Liverpool. Where does he want to go next? Like, he said he's not going to coach in the Premier League again. I got a respect for Liverpool. He probably won't go to another German team because he does have respect for Dortmund too. Is he in line to be the next Barcelona coach? Can he try Italy? I don't know. Maybe the national team as well. I don't know, but I think Klopp deserves that year off. He deserves to, you know, recoup mental health, that work-life balance. Everyone has to find it, even professionals, even people that we watch on TV, Klopp, everybody. So, you know, happy for him. But looking back at his era in Liverpool, one Premier League, one Champions League, and, you know, numerous FA Cups, how would we grade that? If you look at it from the gutter that Liverpool was before Klopp, then it's amazing. He did an amazing job. He turned that organization around. He brought them back to glory. He brought them back into the Europe greats. You know, Liverpool deserve, with their history, with all the championships that they won in European tournaments, they deserve to be among the greats. And he brought Liverpool back there. You know, perennial quarterfinals, semifinals in the Champions League, 1-1 against Tottenham, one of the most boring Champions League final, but, you know, he won one. He won a Premier League. He broke the club record for most points in a Premier League season. You know, he got second place a couple times. FA Cups obviously is prestigious, big tournament in England. So overall, if you look at it from where Liverpool was and where he's leaving them, success, amazing time. But if you were to just compare it to the history of Liverpool, their golden era, if you compare it against what it means to be Liverpool, all their European success, biggest team in England, arguably, with Manchester United, then I think it's a good job. It's like a B+. One Premier League, one Champions League, FA Cups. Great spell. But like, if you're Liverpool, you get graded amongst the European gods, you know? You get graded like, I mean, no one gets graded like Real Madrid, but you get graded like Real Madrid, you know, the San Siro, Milan, all these great teams, Bayern. You get graded amongst those teams and their respective leagues, obviously. So one Champions League, one league title, you know, doesn't really cut it for a great team to be called the golden generation. If you want to compare it against the 30 years before, obviously super successful. And don't take this as a criticism. This is actually, I want to say it's a compliment to Liverpool. I'm saying that their history is so great that it would be a small club mentality of them to think of this as a great super golden era. Because, I mean, Chelsea won a Champions League in, 2012? And they won some Premier Leagues around that time too. Multiple Premier Leagues. They won one, like 3-4 years ago during COVID year with Pulisic. And they won, a Premier League around that time too, I believe. So Premier League teams do this. Obviously, not too many Premier League teams have won Champions League like that in the last few years. But, it does get done. And obviously, Liverpool was more consistent than those Chelsea teams. They only won one league, which is kind of sad. But they were always there. And, like, the level that they brought year in, year out is something to, applaud and commend. But in the end, it was just one Premier League, one Champions League. Champions League, obviously, cachet for, almost, 2 leagues. But one league only. I do believe that if he wins the Premier League this year, I think it's a great bow tie. It closes out this chapter with the, smile on the face. Two Premier Leagues, one Champions League, numerous FA Cups. I think that'll be a great way to end it. You could actually flirt with the idea of golden era for Liverpool at that time. Yeah, they scored a lot of points. Yeah, they broke the club record for points. Their offense was good. They played good football. But it was just one Premier League. It's a little sad that it was only one. I would have liked them to beat to beat Man City more than once. Because Man City is the common enemy for everybody. But it is what it is. I want Klopp. I'm going to say, I miss you. I'm going to miss you. And I wish you, best of luck everywhere you go. Except if you go to Barcelona. But I respect you. I commend you for, taking care of your mental and work-life balance and all that stuff. Anybody can get burnt out, even professional managers. But overall, great job at Liverpool. The Madrid Derby was this weekend, and Real Madrid lose 2 points at the very end. They had all 3 points, and they give up a goal to Llorente, of all people, ex-Madrid, tie 1-1 against Atletico, and we dropped 2 points. Now we're only 2 points ahead of Girona, who's in second place. We play them on Saturday, so, vamos blancos. But overall, if you take everything into consideration, Vinny getting hurt in the warm-ups, the goal that got taken away from Atletico, some penalties that could have been called in Madrid's favor. Atletico did have some chances. Lunin was a factor. He scored, he saved a header right in front of him. He stopped Griezmann with his little flick, with his back heel flick. Don't want to take anything away from Atletico. They had their chances. They were not by any means the lesser team. I do think Real Madrid played better, but Atletico was right there too. They have gotten results against us this year. Historically, they're not the greatest going to the Bernabeu, but this year they've gotten some results off of us. So no Vinny, goal taken away from Atletico, penalties not, going in our favor that could have been called, Lunin being a factor, Real Madrid missed some chances too. Overall, the tie is not bad. We stay 2 points ahead of Girona. We're going to beat them on Saturday. We're going to go 5 points clear, and we're going to take a stranglehold of La Liga. Good weekend for Barcelona. Madrid and Real Madrid drop points, so they get to move up. But overall, disappointing loss of 2 points at the end of the game. Disappointing draw, but overall, I think it hurts more because it came in stoppage time. It came in the last breath of the game. But overall, with Vinny getting hurt and everything that happened, I think overall it was a respectable result. We'll see how Vinny is. I think he should be fine. And we go against Girona on Saturday, and vamos blancos. Así, gana el Madrid. We're going to win on Saturday. We're going to take, we're going to take stranglehold of La Liga. 5 points clear this Saturday. And quickly, now we're finally getting to the NFL. It's Super Bowl week. But I do want to touch on the championship games real quick. I didn't get to talk about them, and I do want to talk about them. Ravens versus Chiefs. Lions versus 49ers. Let's go. So the Ravens were everyone's picks going into the AFC Championship. Lamar Jackson was called L'America. Everybody was doing edits on Instagram, doing reels, doing TikToks. Super cool edits, Taylor Swift singing, and then boom, cutscene. Boom, boom, boom. Lamar Jackson walking down the tunnel. ready to take him down. It got me so hyped, and I believed in him. I wanted it to be true. I'm like, Lamar Jackson's gonna win his second MVP. He's gonna beat Mahomes. He's gonna go win his Super Bowl. He's gonna be one Super Bowl behind Mahomes. Same amount of MVPs. One Super Bowl behind him. It's gonna be a rivalry for the ages. It's gonna be great. That defense is great. They're gonna stop Mahomes. They're gonna stop Kelsey. They're gonna run all over them. And unfortunately, it was none of that. Mahomes and the Chiefs go down and score on their first 2-3 drives. Put a lot of fear into the Ravens team. They abandon the run. Lamar Jackson throws into triple coverage to his backup tight end, down 10 points in the fourth quarter. I can't believe it. Like, that play is gonna haunt me for a long time. As a free agent fan, I was really rooting for the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson, after not having the best game, was driving them down in the fourth quarter to make the game close, and he throws into triple coverage to his backup tight end, down 10. Oh, I couldn't believe it. He threw his helmet in frustration. I was like, yeah, like, you should be throwing your helmet. Like, what the hell was that? And they still had chances, but they couldn't do it. They abandoned the run. They got scared of Mahomes and that offense. They thought they had to get in a shootout. In the end, they could have just stuck to their game plan, but it is what it is. Credit to the Chiefs, credit to Mahomes, credit to Kelsey, credit to that Chiefs defense. And, I'm not going to doubt the Chiefs too much anymore. They keep shutting me up. They're the new Patriots. They're inevitable. It is what it is. They're just a class above everybody at this time. The 49ers do have a great team, though, so we'll see what happens in the Super Bowl. But, man, the Ravens let me down. They let America down. Everybody was rooting for a new AFC team to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. We thought it was the Ravens. We thought this was the year. The wounded Chiefs, the not as strong Chiefs offense, and they still got to the Super Bowl. It is what it is. We'll see what the Ravens do next year. It felt like this was supposed to be the year. No Burrow. Chiefs were weakened. Herbert and the Chargers still couldn't get it together this year. CJ Stroud rookie year, he's only going to get better. It felt like this was the year, and they couldn't do it, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they didn't have the worst loss of the week because the Lions choked. They were up so much at halftime, and then the 49ers flipped the script. Purdy started running like a young Michael Vick, started trucking people. He almost ran over Debo because he wouldn't get out of his way. And I will say this. There's been 2 instances this playoffs where I was like, damn, God is a 49er fan. First time, divisional round, I went to the game at Levi Stadium. Niners take the lead for the first time in the whole second half. They go up 3 with like less than 2 minutes left. The Packers take the field to try to go get the field goal and tie the game or go win the game. Everyone knows how that game ended. Jordan Love throws across his body, gets intercepted, game over. But it was raining on and off lightly the whole game. As soon as the Packers took the field with less than 2 minutes, down 3, it starts coming down. I'm recording the game, and I look up, and I'm like, whoa, it's coming down hard now. And I was like, is Mother Nature, is God a 49ers fan, or why is it raining so hard right now as soon as the Packers take the field? That was the first time I thought that. Second time, Lions have all the momentum. 49ers can't move the ball. It looks like the Lions are just going up and down the field. Purdy throws a prayer of a throw, overthrows Ayuk, hits the Lions defender in the helmet, pops up, Ayuk catches it, 50-yard pass or whatever it was, inside the 10. And then the 49ers never gave the momentum back to the Lions. Dan Campbell could have stopped the bleeding with a field goal to tie the game, I believe at 24. Decides to go for it. Doesn't get it. The floodgates just are wide open. And then, GG. It is what it is. I will say Dan Campbell could have played a little smarter. Definitely could have, take the points. I would have kicked the field goal down 3 in the fourth after not scoring the whole third quarter, or after not scoring in the second half. I forget where in the game that was. But it is what it is. Dan Campbell stuck to his guns. He's known for going on fourth down. He went for it on fourth down. Staley, we're going to talk about the Chargers in a little bit. Staley used to do that. He got burned by the media after losing to the Raiders in the week 18 and missing out in the playoffs for, playing aggressive, going for it on fourth down, and, however that game folded out. And then he lost his edge. He stopped going for it on fourth down as much. He stopped. It kind of looked like he was listening to the media. He lost his edge. And Dan Campbell, I think that's what makes him great. It could be his downfall. It could be his Achilles heel too. But it's what makes him great. It's that bravado, that like put all the chips in. Like, we're going to take your kneecaps. That whole attitude. It all encapsulates that. So that's part of the reason. One of the main reasons they're even in this position. So I respect him for sticking to his guns. It's a learning experience. Maybe next year he takes the points, but he still goes for it on fourth down on other occasions. He went for it on fourth down to start the third quarter, and he didn't get it. That one makes more sense to me. He's trying to go for the kill, the field goal. Let's take the points. Let's tie the game. Let's stop the bleeding. It is what it is. I respect Dan Campbell. I respect the Lions. Sucks that their season ended like that. And we'll see how that division plays out. It could be a one and done year for the Lions, like as far as reigning the division. Bears have the first pick. Jordan Love looked great in the playoffs. It's rumored that the Vikings are going to move up in the draft to get a quarterback. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a fun division the next few years. Shout out to the Lions for a great season. Shout out to the 49ers for, stealing that game back. They showed their class. They got a little lucky with the throw for Ayuk, which sparked everything. But after that, they never looked back. They snatched that game away from the Lions. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. 49ers are stacked. Purdy has shown that he could do it in the playoffs. Mahomes is a dog. Obviously, the Chiefs are the kingdom that everyone wants to fall. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. But championship games were great. Sorry it took me that long to talk about it. I was in Australia for the Australian Open. So before we get to that, let's quickly just talk about Jim Harbaugh. So Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers. He's talking about multiple Super Bowls. And I will say pump the brakes. Put a little respect in the Chiefs' name. All they do is go to the AFC Championship, go to the Super Bowl. In a down year, they're in the Super Bowl. Everybody was doubting them this year. They're in the Super Bowl. I was doubting them. The media was doubting them. Mahomes is not him. Down year, wide receivers suck, all this stuff. They're in the Super Bowl. So low respect to the Chiefs, but I will say this. Harbaugh has won at USD. He's won at Stanford. He almost won the whole thing with the 49ers. He won with Michigan. He's a proven coach. He wants to win the chip with the 49ers. I mean, he couldn't win the chips with the 49ers. He wants to win it with the Chargers, but he's a winner. I've been watching his interviews. I already know the energy that Jim Harbaugh brought from his Niner years, and from just watching him in college and like just seeing him on the internet. But I've been watching some of his interviews with like Colin Cowherd, and I believe he went on Pat McAfee show too. And just the energy that he brings is just contagious. You're just hearing him talking. You're just nodding your head, and you're feeling the energy that he brings. So I think that's going to be great for the Chargers. Also, he's a quarterback. He played for the Chargers. It's like full circle. He talked about the relationship he has with the Spanos and all that. It's going to be great. I think it's a good fit. I think it's a great fit, especially because he's a quarterback. He could help Justin Herbert get to that next level. Justin Herbert has all the arm talent. He's mobile enough where he could actually hurt you with his mobility, with his legs. So he's as close as they come to a prototype quarterback in 2024. Strong arm, for the most part, makes good decisions, athletic. What he's missing is, those key comebacks that really cement your name, that people remember. Like, damn, he brought them back to such and such state. Boom, boom, boom. He needs more of those moments. It could be that, he had the worst coach in the NFL and Brandon Staley. It could be, his wide receivers keep getting hurt. But I think Jim Harbaugh is going to help him in that regard. He's going to be that voice in his ear. He's going to, have the experience. He's been there. He's done that. He's played quarterback in the NFL. And the other thing that Justin Herbert is missing is he's kind of missing that dog in him. He doesn't really get in people's faces. He doesn't really, grab the players' pads and tells them like, come on, let's go do this. You don't really see him walking down the sideline, getting people ready when they're about to take the field. Like, you never really see him do that. I love that in a quarterback. Like, Brady did that, Manning did that. Rodgers didn't do that as much. He's kind of more laid back. But I like that. I like them going in there clapping, like, come on, let's go do this. And I think that part of Justin Herbert, I'm pretty sure Jim Harbaugh could bring that out of him, because Jim Harbaugh has more than enough of that. He's overfilling with whatever that is. He's super charismatic. He's like such a big persona. He expects so much from his players. He's not afraid to speak his mind and get in people's faces and tell them how it is. So I think just naturally being in the day-to-day with Jim Harbaugh, I think is going to bring some of that out of Justin Herbert. And I think that's a good thing for Justin Herbert and for the Chargers. So I think it's going to be interesting. People of LA, people of San Diego, those San Diego people are still root for the Chargers. I think it's going to be exciting times. Fuck the Chargers, though, still, for leaving San Diego. I'm not over that. I'm still a free agent fan. But exciting times for LA, for those San Diego fans still in San Diego. And we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be real exciting. Justin Herbert and the Chargers get Jim Harbaugh. I think it's going to be a great fit. Watch out, AFC. And we'll see how the Chiefs handle these new look Chargers. But overall, I think it's great for the NFL. Great to have Harbaugh back. Great for the Chargers. The Chargers actually have a direction now. They actually have hope. We'll see what they do going forward. And, you know, the reason why it took me so long to talk about all these topics was because I did actually get to attend the Australian Open this year. I did get to go to Australia. I saw Jannik Sinner play against Rublev. I was on my way back in the final, but I was score watching. I was reading Twitter. I was watching all the Twitter feeds and seeing all the updates on my Twitter feed. And then I did watch the match once I got to the US. So I saw everything, but I was score watching on my phone. And man, I think Jannink Sinner, he is him. Like, to beat Djokovic, the GOAT, in his fortress. Like, Djokovic is already a god in any tennis court he walks into. Any tennis court he's playing at, he's a god. He's a man amongst gods. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He's bigger than tennis in any tennis court that he walks into. But in Melbourne, in Australia, at the Australian Open, he is damn near unbeatable. He hadn't lost in like over 2,000 days, I believe. Some crazy stat. He is a walking god in Melbourne. Like, that's his tournament. He's him. For Sinner at 21, 22 years old, I believe 22 years old, to beat him in the semis. Beat him 3 out of the last 4 times he's played him, to just in 4 sets. Didn't even go 5. He beat him in 4 sets. Djokovic did look like he was tired. He was missing a lot of unforced errors, but take nothing away from Djokovic. Take nothing away from Sinner. He deserved that. He was on fire. He didn't drop a set till the semifinals to Djokovic. And then he came back from 0-2 against Medvedev. Just amazing stuff by Sinner. Like, it's really the Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic era right now. It's those two young guns, and Djokovic still. This was a hiccup on the road, but he's still always going to be competing for slams. At least this year, probably next year. We'll see how his body keeps up, but it really seems like it's those 3 competing for slams. Medvedev, a little bit below those 2. He's like the next second tier. And then after Medvedev, there's like a gap. And then it's like Zverev and Tsitsipas and Rublev. And it does feel like that next generation has surpassed that next generation. It looks like Zverev, Tsitsipas, Rublev, they might not ever get a slam, to be honest. Like, their time might have passed. It felt like it was this was the tournament for Zverev or Medvedev to get their first or second, respectively, a slam, but it didn't happen. It's Sinner's time, and he seems like such a good kid. Like, from all the clips I watch of ATP on Instagram, on YouTube, he just looks like he's always smiling, always having a good time. Super down-to-earth guy, it seems like, and just strikes the ball so hard. He's a great player. Super happy for Sinner. Like I said, I did get to attend the Australian Open this year. Amazing experience, worth the 16.5-hour flight from San Francisco, 15 hours back this way. It was crazy stuff, but it was worth it. Like I said, it was an amazing experience. I did get to go to the US Open last year, and I will say that I kind of prefer the Australian Open. I don't know if it was because I was in a new country and I was just wide-eyed, looking everywhere. Everything was like so cool to me, but something about the Australian Open, something about Rod Laver Arena, that the way it's designed, There's only one entrance to go down and up. It just felt so cool being there. I do wish I get a chance to go back, but who knows? It is kind of far and it is pretty expensive to go, but amazing experience. I'm super glad that more young players are winning slams. I think it's good for the sport that players win slams while Djokovic is still like a great player. So once he's gone, we get to like not diminish their accomplishments by saying, damn, they didn't win anything till Djokovic retired. Like this generation's not as good. Like, I know that would be a thing if Alcaraz and Sinner and Medvedev to a degree never won a slam while Djokovic was still reigning supreme, and then he retires and then they win their slams, it would kind of diminish it a little bit. Like, yeah, and like no one really got to get one when he was still here towards the end of the big three, end of Djokovic. For them to win some while he's still, top dog, number one in the world, I think it's good for tennis going forward. And I'm super happy for Sinner, super happy that I got to go to Australian Open. It was a great time. We'll see. I got to hit up Wimbledon and French Open next. We'll see. Probably not this year because it's a lot of money, but we'll see when I get to hit it. Shout out to my boy McKenna, who passed away last year. Motivated me to go see the world and experience life to the fullest because we don't know how much time we have in this world. Shout out to my boy McKenna. Shout out to Australian Open for having a great tournament. Shout out to Sinner. Sabalenka too. I didn't get to talk about Sabalenka, but she's amazing. I love Sabalenka. She ran through the whole tournament. There's nothing to talk about Sabalenka. She just ran through the whole tournament, dominated the whole women's WTA, just dominated everybody. Back-to-back Australian Opens. Shout out to Sabalenka. Shout out Sinner. Great Australian Open. Great time in Australia. And stay tuned for my prediction on the Super Bowl, probably coming out on Friday. This is the Hard Handle Sports Podcast. As always, thank you for making it to the end. Peace.
I don't check my mentions. When I slide, no sudden moves. All my goons are stretching. And I'm taxing for the fee. On my damn